Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. I sense your presence. And I am the light within your soul.
Welcome to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols-George, and the music you were listening to there at the beginning of the show is called I Sense Your Presence. It's by Shemshai, and that is one of the artists that I'm going to be featuring here on the show. All right, we are back, and for those of you that are just tuning in, you are listening to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. I'm your host, Jessie Ann Nichols-George, and you were just listening to Angel of the Dawn by Shemshai. And we are now ready to bring on Todd Stockwell. We just finished talking with Jen Prothero, and Todd, these are some questions that come to mind when I'm thinking of introducing Todd and the work he does. Have you ever wanted to find out what works for you? And have you ever wanted to live a joyful and empowered life? This is really where Todd's work is being focused on. Todd is an expert on the new paradigm, finding your divine path and true genius. He has worked with athletes, actors, musicians, and professionals to reach their own personal best. Todd has been an expert on Clear Channel Radio, BBS Radio, Intuitive Soul, and Wisdom Radio. Todd has an MS in Leadership and Training from Alameda University and a BA in Sociology from the University of Michigan. Todd has over 20 years of management and consulting experience and 5 years of experience working with people with developmental disabilities. Todd is an artist, award-winning author, songwriter, inventor, leader, and father. And to find out more about Todd and the work that he is doing, you can visit his website at www.beyond1111.com. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Todd on the air here. Hi, Todd, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hello, Jessie.
Hello, and welcome to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour.
Well, thank you.
We really appreciate you being here. Todd, I want to start off, and I want to make sure I'm leaving a little bit of time tonight so that if any of our callers or our listeners out there, people in our chat rooms, if they've got questions for you, that they'll be able to get those questions answered. But why don't we start off with having you share with us a little bit about your story, what brought you to doing the things that you're doing today, because like both Jen and I, you've got this diverse background there.
Yeah, well, I guess what I would say is, some people say, what did you do to get here or something like that, and I would just say that it came to me. I was always aware of things that were not necessarily what everyone else is aware of, I guess, and every step that I took, just showed me whether it's working with companies where that I could intuitively, spot where the problems were quickly and figure out how to correct them, or working with individuals with developmental disabilities, just sense and know that even though somebody's nonverbal doesn't mean they're not able to communicate, things like that. And, it just became more and more a part of that this is what I'm here for. I know my purpose. I know it well. I'm here to light the light workers. Help the leaders of this new paradigm get lit up and be in their specific genius, because we're at the time of indigo, and it's transitioning quickly to even a higher consciousness. And the time of indigo is where that each one of us finds our true genius. We find our path, and then it aligns everything else to create this new paradigm. So we're in the midst of it. It's the most exciting time ever to be here, and glad I signed up for this time.
I agree. We are in some amazingly exciting times, and it's interesting that you bring out how you're supporting the light workers and the Indigo Children, and this is a really big movement. Jen and I were talking about that earlier, of how this is the time when people that are doing this work are coming out, and this is the time that people are feeling those stirrings and those awakenings in them, and they're wondering, how do I bring this gift out? I'm starting to be aware I'm a little bit different, or I have some things going on that the rest of the world maybe isn't doing, and what do I do with this energy, and what do I do with these gifts? And it's always a big question. I think when people are starting on their path, I like you, a lot of my gifts just kind of came to me. They were there for a lot of my life, but I still had to study and work for them and learn them and understand them along the way. And I think it unfolds for us along the way as we step on the path, and sometimes we just don't always know what we're stepping into. We might have a concept of that big giant picture out there, but until you step on the path and start walking it, you don't exactly know where you're going to end up.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys were talking earlier. I did listen. I was listening to you guys. It was off and on a little bit on the computer, but I did listen. And you were talking about the heart. The key is at the heart. We have the core at our heart, where all the answers are. The whole universe is there at our heart. That's the biggest Christ teaching, was that it's all right there in your heart, and so it's important that we get aligned with our heart, and then the answers are there and now in this moment. We don't have to think about all of these things and try to figure things out. All the answers are there. They're aligned. There's so much more information we can get when we're heart connected. It downloads, that's the term that I'll use, because it's so much information that you couldn't even learn it in a lifetime here. It's way more information than you could possibly, get from every book on the planet. So let's open ourselves up to that. A lot of what the work that I do is all about getting the brain out of the way, getting you connected, so that you're empowered, so that you're able to truly get to your highest potential. And I know you guys were talking about how each individual is different. It's so true in each one of us, because we think linear. Okay, our brain tends to pull us into linear thought. We're not linear, we're multidimensional. So therefore, we're all creating a completely different reality. Each one of us is creating a whole different paradigm in and of ourselves. So therefore, that's why it's so important to do the compassion work that you're talking about, with that, and helping people to have compassion for others, because they're not going to see what we see. They're not going to feel what we feel. It's a different reality that they're creating. So therefore, it's fine that your beliefs, or my big thing is beliefs can be the biggest challenge that there is, because they're outward beliefs that we've been taught. When we're taught anything that's outside of ourselves, takes us away from connection and programs us, and that's what I work very hard at helping people to break away from those chains and those kind of programs.
And, I think that that's a big thing when we look at that compassion. And you bring up a good point. We all are in these different realities, and it's not that one reality is right and another one is wrong. And it's not that we can't access that total information so much as we're not going to be able to sit down and read all of that information. It's when we get connected to the heart and we get connected to spirit that we have access to it. So it's not that we can necessarily download it all and put it all in our little brain as much as it is kind of plugging into that bigger source of information there.
And that's the key, is that when we're in the now and we're connected to our core, which is the entire universe, then we have all the information that we need in that moment, and then, that's all we really need, because we're creating right now. If we lean off into the future, where that gets us, we fall off into worry zone, then the brain's in the way. And same as in the past, you're looking back at what you did wrong or things like that, and too many people are focused on what do I have to fix, The first thing that we need to realize is that we don't have to fix anything. We're perfected beings, God, we were created perfectly, exactly the way that we were meant to be created in this moment. So therefore, it's not about fixing things. All these things correct by, or clear by just focusing on, okay, this thing shows up in the moment. Now I can focus on it. It's ready to go. Let's just let it go.
And that is a big piece of where compassion ties in with the work I'm doing, because it's less about, okay, it's got to be my way or this way or a specific way, and it's more about letting go, because when we get to that letting go space, we have a couple of things that happen. First of all, we're much more receptive to gaining understanding and being able to learn and broaden what we have in our reality. But it's the way of communicating, because a lot of times it's not so much about this person did this to me, or that person took a certain action and I don't like it, as much as it is, what am I going to do about it? And am I identifying a pain or a programming or something that needs to be released? And when we let go, then we can actually release those programmings and get into that space of, how can I support you? How can I help you? Because I want to see you evolve. I want to see you grow.
Right, exactly, and that's the key, is that the highest form of or our highest experience that's available for each one of us is to be of service. So to be of service at the highest point is feeling everything, and people get in this fear zone about feeling things because they have a perception that it's painful, and pain isn't real when we're truly connected. It's not real, So if a lot of people will be like, I'm in a lot of pain, so don't say that, But the truth is that pain is something that we've been programmed into. That each step of our life that we've been taught that this thing hurts, this hurts, and then the universe keeps showing us more and more of that, so it gets more and more painful. And if so many of us have come here as consciousness workers, where that we're elevating, a lot of people, and helping a lot of people to raise their vibrations. Well, we tend to get weighed down more because we're holding that kind of a thing, and our energy's going outward instead of inward and connecting. So that's a big thing, for light workers, for consciousness workers. That's usually the term that I use. But the big thing is that compassion is key to all of it, of course, because that's here in the heart, and the truth is there in the heart. If we can see things in the moment, then we're able to. The brain can do brilliant things. It's so much more advanced than any of these computers out there, but it has to take second to the heart, and then it can be aligned, and all that information can pop up as we need it in that moment. We have the answers, all the truths that we need, all the focus. You guys were also talking about when you have this spark of a thought of what you need to do, and then it needs to sit for a little while and simmer. That's all part of a download, a connection, a process, because there's so much to it. It's going to show itself a few times, and then it's going to happen peacefully. You don't have to force things. They happen as long as we're connected and we're walking in spirit neutral.
And this is so true. And I think there's two really good points in there that you bring up. And one of them is the aspect of, if we're not in our heart, we're really not connected. If we're feeling the anger and the frustration and the worries and the anxieties, which is all head and ego stuff, it's really all about ego at that point. We don't think about it because we're thinking, but I've given and I've given and I've given, and how can I be an ego when I'm doing all this giving? But if you have those things going on, you're not in the heart, and when you're not in the heart and you're not in that compassion space, then you're actually disconnected from spirit. And it's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept that disconnect is there. And that's when we really need to learn to get a little conscious and go, okay, I've got these things going on, so that means I'm disconnected, and what am I going to do to get connected? Whether that's stopping and taking that pause of breathing time, or getting that conscious positive thought going, or just tuning into our heart and saying what's going on. And then the other thing that you brought up was that aspect of service, and definitely being of service is such a great thing, but I feel that there's a lot of people out there, and you mentioned it, where the energy is pouring out and out and out, and they're not taking energy in, so they get very drained. This is something that happens with a lot of people, particularly that are doing things like Reiki and energy work and massage work and things like that, and they feel very drained after a session instead of just feeling very balanced. And
yeah, exactly, because what happens there, is that if you're focusing, it's basically we're sitting in a program where that we've been programmed that this is what service looks like, is that we're giving, and then basically you're beating yourself up. You're completely creating yourself as a victim. You have to take care of you first, and you can't elevate the consciousness when you're working as a consciousness worker. When I say about elevating, millions of people and thousands of people, you have to take care of you. If you don't take care of you and clear you and make sure you're taken care of and loved and all this kind of stuff, then you're just getting buried, and you'll do the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. So,
and this is so true, and this is one of the points that I bring up in my book. Matter of fact, I've got a whole chapter devoted to being compassionate with oneself. And we have to do that, because if you're not being compassionate with yourself, if you're not giving to yourself, then you don't have anything to give.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing of and some people feel like, well, I feel guilty if I take time for myself, or I feel guilty if I'm doing these things for myself. But in reality, that is really how you get to that giving space. It's a cycle. It's a cycle of when you give to yourself, you have more to give to others, and when you're giving more to others, you'll have more to give to yourself. So it's a cycle that kind of perpetuates itself.
Exactly, and it creates a victim, stasis, and as far as I'm concerned, we need to kill the victim. It sounds harsh, but it's true. We just need to kill the victim. That whole victim reality has used itself up. We can just let it go. And what I mean by that is like you're saying, you victimize yourself any time that you start judging that, I'm not giving enough. I've got to, I have to do this. All those kind of things are all ways of victimizing yourself. I've got to give till I collapse. All that kind of thing. It's just the opposite. It's the opposite of the truth. And a lot of these things that we've been trained, because they're outward training, are the opposite of the truth. So selfish in the eyes of the world is not selfish.
Right, exactly. I think that's so very true there, and it's it does tend to be a hard thing to accept, and the aspect of giving is actually something that we started this show off with tonight when we were looking at a passage or thought from the 72 Names of God by Yehuda Berg, and who's very studied and mastered in Kabbalah. And it was one of the points that was brought up, that really you want to be giving when you're able to give from the heart, and not because you feel coerced or forced or pressured to give, or because somebody says you've got an obligation to give and that's the only way you're going to make it. So those are not the conditions to give under. What we want to do is to be giving because our heart is saying, I want to do something. I want to share. And the giving is about sharing more than it is giving.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Todd?
It's exactly. It's about connection. You could look at the key is that we're all here to connect on one level or another, and to elevate. And as we do, we have our experience. We felt that experience the whole way. Each different step that we take another experience out of helps us to release and helps us to elevate and to connect more. And as we connect more, then we're able to help others. And it doesn't mean that we have to be reaching out and volunteering here and volunteering there and all that kind of thing, of course, that's always a good thing, too, if that's what our heart brings us to, But like you say, if it's not, if you're doing it because somebody thinks you should do it besides your own heart, then you're just going to get an anger bill, and anger is an anchor, that's why it sounds like anger. Anchor. Will anchor you into the sludge, and you'll be stuck in the sludge, and we know you can't do much when your eyes are covered in mud, So I say, let's elevate, let's get into that spirit neutral zone, where everything's possible, and we can create miracles simply, and have a beautiful, reality.
I so agree. And I've got a couple of callers on the line, and I'm going to give them a chance to come in and ask you questions. But I did want to bring up one thing, because we are going to be working in this group dynamic here coming up on October 2nd to 4th. And one of the things that we mentioned is that if we're all different, and we all come from these different realities, and we all have different needs and different things that we will resonate for us. But if we're all different, how can we get what we need by being in a group situation? You know,
Okay.
how do we get what we need by sitting there in this group of people if we're all different?
Because this is a very simple, believe it or not, question. Because as we're a core, each one of us is a core. As we get into a bigger group, that group is also a core. This planet is a bigger core. The universe is a bigger core where we're all connected. We're all connected in one way or another. And so therefore, as long as we're able to connect to our own hearts, to our core, then we're able to elevate each one of us. And that's what my work's all about. And I know that that's what your focus is as well.
Absolutely. It's about, you know, how many people can we get out there on their path, doing their work, helping them make that transition from feeling lost and wondering what to do to finding the successes that we're wanting. And you deal in so many incredible areas. I mean, just to give our listeners an idea, I mean, you've got genius training and core empowerment and working with white buffaloes and spiritual business success, chant Om Wow, universal vortex training, fountain of youth, 12 levels of NSOF. You've just got tons and tons of stuff. And this is what we were mentioning. I mean, between you and Jen and me, I mean, we've got, I don't know, probably easily 60 years experience if we combine it all together. But I do have a couple of listeners on the line, and Todd, let me bring those on. I've got a 619 area code, and let them go ahead and ask you any questions they've got, okay?
Okay.
619, you're live on the air. Hello? Let's try that again. 619, You're live on the air. Can you hear us?
Yes, you had me on mute.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
And did you have a question?
Yes, I would like some advice. There's a message I've been wanting to hear, but I've been told that I'm trying too hard to hear it. So what can I do, find a way to hear it?
Okay. You need to focus on your heart. Focus on a flame at the base of your heart chakra. Okay, so it's more toward the diaphragm, and expand that to open. You want to focus only on that. Clear the mind. Get the mind out of the way. There's different things that you could do. You could tone if you wanted to. I would just say the more that you focus on expanding your core, though, that's the most important thing, because then you're aligning and you're showing the system, that your physical system, that the heart is where the truth is, and then there's no try. Then you can Yoda will be happy with you as a student.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And by the way, one more thing. What's the name of this show? Because I want to download it.
I'm sorry?
What's the name of the show? Because I'm not at the computer. I want to download it later on.
Mm-hmm. And we will send that out through the Facebook page, but you can actually just come right back into the same link that you used to get into this one, and it should allow you to download from there.
But I'm not at the computer. I'm just on the phone.
So it's Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, and you'll find it. It's the one for this date, and so if you just go into Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and it's through Main Street Universe.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move on here. We've got somebody from 954 area code, and I'm bringing you on the air. Okay, 954, you're live on the air.
Oh, no, I'm
Hello?
Yes, you took my call before. I'm still just listening.
Still just listening?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to put you back on hold.
Okay, thanks.
And we're going to go to area code 703. 703, you're live on the air.
Hello, Jesse. It's Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Daniel Michael.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I just got back from work a little while back and was tuning into the show, and it's great to see our show expand. And I'll get off the line soon if there's other callers, so that you can get back to the advice and stuff. But I just want to say I'm so happy to see that I started this show and then the network, and then to see you blossom this into, plant the seed, and to see you be part of its growing in one of its branches is just amazing. And it was sort of very warming to first tune in and hear it and saying, oh, here it is, and she's doing this now with us, and as some of the other folks are. So welcome to the Main Street Universe Network, and I'm going to go ahead and hang up and let you continue with your show.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
All right, thank you.
That was Daniel. He's the producer for Main Street Universe, so it's great to have him here listening in and paying attention to my maiden voyage here of activating compassion in the midnight hour. And, Todd, that kind of looks like what we have in the way of callers right now tonight, but I do want to give you a chance to share your information. How do people contact you? How do they get hold of you if they want to?
Yes, well, they can call me at 734-740-9110. So it's dial 911. There's also, you can email me at Todd at beyond1111.com, so it's beyond1111.com. And, of course, check out the website. It's all there, with the beyond1111.com. And so that would be it. I'm available around the clock, so if I don't pick up, leave me a message. I am one who listens to my messages. I hear that's not common anymore, but I do. I listen to the message, so I will get back to you quickly.